All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm a little bit nervous, but I've been practicing all morning. I'm going to start with my story. I'm a mom of three. I was struggling with losing who I was. My husband was in the oil field, and I rarely got out to do the things I enjoyed. And when I did, I was on a guilt trip by others in the family, with them saying that too bad Jeff was missing out. And on his week home, he wanted to rest, which I didn't blame him with 90 plus hours a week. But he still encouraged me to do those things. But it was hard since his parents watched the boys. I started to gain weight after our baby, and I had gone back to work in August, and that's when my weight gain had started. And I was getting anxious, and I really was starting to hate my life. I couldn't even remember what it was that I loved doing. My goal when I started was to lose weight again and get back to how I was eating before the pregnancy and the weight that I wanted. I had done some challenge groups that summer with Michaela, and I was learning to love running until I sprained my knees. And at that point, I wanted a low impact workout. So I ordered PiYo, which I fell in love with. And I was doing really great. And when we were hiking and hunting, I had so much stamina from all that I couldn't believe what it had actually done for me. It was then that I realized the changes it was making. But after we got done hunting, I fell off the bandwagon of exercising and eating well. And so I ended up back into those feelings that I stated above, with the angry attitude, depression, hating my life. And I had started working in late July, and I had worked for 7 months. And during that time was when I really started noticing the negative side of me coming back out. My husband begged me to quit my job, and it was really, really hard for me to leave because I was really worried about the layoff. And I finally left, and it was one of those jobs, it was like a bad relationship. You loved it, but you hated the negative that it was bringing into your life. I was bored out of my mind after I'd quit, and I needed something more to do. And that's when the light bulb clicked on and realized I had signed up as a coach in August. So I share my journey and start all over on myself. So I made myself vulnerable by taking pictures, which I never took pictures of myself. And if I did, it was taken 15 to 20 times before I decided on the one to post. And posting my before and after photos was really, really hard for me, as I'm sure most of you have felt the same way. So what do you think vulnerability is for you? For me, it's sharing my story. And it's one of those that you really have to dig deep. Don't just scratch the surface. Your post is part of who you are. Your past is part of who you are and has shaped you, but it does not define you. People want to connect with you. The best way to fail, according to Melanie Mitro, is not knowing your story. So you've really got to dig deep and figure out what brought you to where you were. What made you decide that you wanted that change? You need to share your journey. And though it may be hard, you have to be willing to do it. There are more people that are going to cheer you on and want to know what you're doing. Share the ups and downs. Nobody is perfect, and people want to see that. They want to see your reality show. And I didn't realize this until recently, when I actually started sharing some of my past. And people were like, I can't believe that was part of your past. I feel such a connection with you, and realize that we're so much more alike. And it was really, and we're like, I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you for sharing it. You've got to be a product of the product. Why is it so amazing for you to show that the vulnerability is, and if it means you talk about how you tried other things and don't name other side, maybe because I don't know, some people find it as a negative, but show that this is working for you, how this other didn't do. Don't be afraid to utilize social media. That's where my downfall is at first I was like, oh, I don't want to flood my news feed with things that I'm doing, with showing sides of me that I don't want people to see. I wanted my life to look perfect. And again, you're putting yourself in this big old meadow and you have all these people around you like they're preying on you, but in reality what they're doing is they're watching. They're watching to see how your life unfolds, how you handle it, how you make it work, and you find the positive instead of feeding on the negative. Post 3 to 5 days, 3 to 5 things of your life that makes you stand out from others. Not everyone's going to connect with your story, but there are many that will connect with you. And those are the people that will come out and start commenting on your posts. They'll start messaging you, or they may just like your post 100 times. Invites, big scary thing for me and still is to this day. But people won't know what you're doing unless you ask, or they won't know that you have these challenge groups unless you ask. Doing the invites is very, very, very uncomfortable for me because I feel like I'm asking for a favor. It is my most vulnerable spot, is inviting. But successful people and leaders didn't get where they are by staying in their comfort zones. You've got to step out of that zone of people. You have got to ask questions that most people wouldn't ask. There's a lot of people on your Facebook that you probably don't know personally, and the only way to truly get to know them is by messaging them. You'll see what they post here and there, but that's a cover story. It's just the first few pages of a book. And to really understand what people are wanting in their life, it is definitely forming and inviting and messaging. And then I have setting your goals high. That's another one for me that really sets me out of my comfort zone, because I'm afraid if I don't hit that goal, that why should I keep going? Why should I continue? If I can't reach a goal, what's the point? If you don't make that goal, just set it for the next month and the next month, but you just need to make it non-negotiable and at least make it halfway. If you don't make it halfway, at least try and get a third of it, but don't quit. The higher your goal is, the more vulnerable you will be, because you have to invite more. You have to put yourself out there more. You have to, and that's where a lot of us hate going, is if you're an introvert like I am, you don't like to talk. I do a lot better in person now than I used to, which is crazy. I'd rather talk to people in person now than do it through messaging, because I can see the reaction. I can see how they're feeling about it. I can watch their body language. And remember that in any situation, there are more than one answers. When we were at Summit, listening to DeWitt, he just sat there and kept saying how there was more than one answer to a situation. And it hit me. I'm always looking for just one answer instead of realizing that there are numerous answers. They're never ending. Just because you didn't get that answer you wanted doesn't mean there isn't another one. It's just finding that affirmation in each and every aspect. You just have to share it all. You just have to be who you are. Be real and raw. I struggled with showing my fun side. I struggled with showing the days that I really struggle with living. Not necessarily really living, but I just hate the answers I'm getting, and I let it affect me bad. I'm learning not to. But you've got to turn those negatives into a positive and say to yourself, there's a reason behind it. I wasn't put here for me to just give up. I used to be one of those that when I was put in a position that was really, really hard, or I was around people that were really negative, that I would just give up. Or if I was in a situation where, say yesterday, I needed a paper printed off to take with me when I went to do a drug test for a job that I'm trying to get, and my printer won't work. And I went there and they're like, sorry, we need that paper. And I was like, I don't know how to get it because I don't have a printer that I could have used. I couldn't get in my email and pull it back up. And I told my husband, I'm like, I might as well just give up because at the point I don't have anything to show them. And I finally asked the lady, I was like, do you have a number I could call to this company so that I can get that paper sent over here? And by stepping out of that comfort zone and asking and stepping up, I got the answer I needed and I got that paper. I'm one of those that it is really, really hard for me to step out and ask for things because I feel like I'm making somebody go out of their way or that I'm asking them to do something they really don't want to do. But I learned at Summit, posting those funny photos, people loved it. I had to buy internet when I was on the airplane to post the one about the toilet paper in the bathroom. I was going to lose what I had all drawn up in my head if I didn't get it out then. And that was one of my posts that people screenshot and shared in groups that I was in. They were like, she said I could share it because it's so funny. And then somebody else was like, I'm going out tonight with my friends, but I'll make sure there's toilet paper. It's those connections that start being people to you. And I would have never posted that 6 months, maybe even 4 months ago because it was embarrassing. But I thought it was. Heather and I laughed about it the whole time. Haley, and it was just. Let's see. Now where am I at? Can you please not eat right here? And then the one more thing that I have is you need to remember everybody is a person. They have feelings. There's been many times I've gone places where people judge a person by their actions, service, or interaction with others. And we all are service to one another when we go places. We don't know their story. We don't know why they're having an off day. We don't know if they found out some bad news that week or if they had a horrible growing up and they're still trying to overcome those fears. Just be vulnerable and ask about them, show them your kindness. That's what leaders do. There's been a lot of times that I've gone places and I'll say Walmart for one. There's definitely one guy there that he's not very friendly, and I just strike up a conversation with him. I'll talk to him, ask how his day is going, and by the time I usually leave, he's smiling. And I don't know if it stays that way for the next customer or not, because there's a lot of people that come in there and they can treat people pretty rudely, and I'm sure it's a wear and tear on the day, but just show kindness to everybody. It's the most vulnerable thing you can do by showing love and kindness, opening yourself up, especially to your spouse. If you don't have that with your spouse where you can share stuff with them that opens you up, then you start building a wall, and that wall is a pain to bring down. Trust me. It's been a long road trying to break my wall. My husband and I have been together 7 years, and I'm still trying to tear down walls from before. That's all I have. Does anybody have questions? No questions? Gosh, I got myself all worked up.
You did, Mom.
This was a good subject for me. I learned a lot about myself and about being able to put myself out there more. Love you too, Haley. Thank you, Haley. Oh, and also, if you weren't there at Summit, get on and watch DeWitt's video. And those two were a huge eye-opener for me in aspects of my life. All right.
Goodbye.
I'm you little bugger. This dog now.
Goodbye.
Maybe.